But when you measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken. We just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and vegs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of rhyme.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a Ko-Fi, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Smith Tools and Purchase, Level Plain Poem, Vitali Z, Colton James, Survive the Spin, Effie Patriot, Thomas van der Zander, Measured Flat, Tiers Morgan, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, The Names Burley, JMails24, Unimento, Iron26, Retro Bill, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Hairy Blade, Mobile Mac 777, Rob W, Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Texas Mike, Chow Young Cat, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Links to Patreon are below this video. But with that, I'm going to hand across to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
He's jumping all over the place, smiling, and he's got no front teeth.
Yeah, I don't know if that part in the book about it not claiming it's a force. I'm pretty sure in the Principia he did.
Okay.
He just thought without an external medium or intelligence, it would not be possible. There would be a force that acted through matter.
Okay. I mean, for now, I'm reading through, as you probably heard, the first 9 of about 18 pages. So at this point, I'm not actually making any changes to it. I just want to hear it, and then I'll go through it and change it after the fact, because I will need to know what's in the next 9 pages. So I've got full clarity of what's going on. We've read through the whole book as it stood, as it was gleamed by my wife. Now we're at the stage where each chapter can be edited after going through it as we go through it, because we've read through it all once. But with chapters like Gravity, there's so much information in there that I want to hear the full chapter first. So I've asked her, let's just read through it. I won't interrupt you and stop you. And then when we get to the end, we'll start again from the beginning of the chapter and then make changes.
Is it not over yet? I thought that I held it till the end.
No, that's about halfway through the chapter, what you've heard up till now. The audience doesn't know what we're talking about. But fine. Before I started recording the Uncut After Show, we were doing the book. So, just so the audience is up to speed, why you're asking me this. We'll start about 15 minutes late. I mean, we could start on time. I've got 5 minutes. I suppose I could start on time, couldn't I?
Yeah, I don't see why not. But
yeah.
You remember me and Brian getting in that back and forth about the Viz?
No, just remind me.
I was going to ask you if that was the same argument you had. with Brian.
Yeah. Yeah, the viz, right, is Brian's conjecture that that's the only word that can mean force. And if it's not in the Principia, then Newton never claimed a force. So I got him like 6 or 7 citations of where he used the word viz, you know? And he never accepted it. But yeah, Newton totally thought there was a force of doubt.
Yeah, and then he said you don't read the original language.
Why? Is it
Yeah,
written in
because
Italian or something?
Well, his conjecture was because it was a translation. I didn't actually read what Newton wrote.
So that was written in Latin, right?
Yeah, fucking dead language.
So a dead
Sorry.
language, basically, and he was holding you to test that because you don't know the original Latin, you can't make your claim.
Well, Brian was a well-renowned Latin reader, wasn't he, after all? I think that was the worst row you've ever got into.
Yeah, because I give him the examples like, well, I read Dostoevsky, but it was a translation. Does that mean I haven't read Dostoevsky?
Dostoevsky, or however you pronounce it, is a familiar author's name. I just don't know what the book is. Something very famous, like War and Peace or something like that.
Yeah, but he's clearly Russian. I don't speak Russian, but
What
I
did he
read
write?
one of his books. How is that possible?
What book did you read?
I think it was the one about the prison. Can't remember its name now. Hold on a minute. I'll go look it up.
Okay. Only because the name is familiar, and I don't know why.
Because all college kids use it, make themselves sound intelligent.
Maybe that's why it's familiar, because other people have been sniffing their own farts while saying it around me.
Exactly. See, John just humbly brought it up. But, to make his point.
Of course.
But,
When one of your own friends does it, it's not because they're fart sniffers. They're intellectuals when they're your friends.
what I'm saying, if
Humbly
you're going to make a point and you have actually read something that's in a foreign language as well.
Crime and Punishment is what I read.
It's Crime and Punishment. Yes, of course it is.
Crime and
What did I
Punishment.
say? War and Peace. That was close.
I did not read it because I wanted to. I read it because it was a requirement in class I took.
They refracted.
So what?
You should have seen their face when they were putting the silver medal on the Canadians. It was like they were putting a piece of shit around their neck. Oh, it's classic. Because they make you stay on the ice because the Olympics was over after that, except for the closing ceremony that was going to take place 7 hours from then. So they give them their medals right there. And of course, they give the silver first, and you should have seen their faces. It was actually like they were hanging a piece of turd around their neck. I was laughing my ass off.
Yeah, second place is a hard one to swallow in that situation. You know what I mean?
They were favored by 2 goals. It was almost like the kids beating the mighty Russians in the 80s. The only difference was they were college kids and the Russians were like freaking veterans. But this Canadian team is way better than that Russian team. But the thing is, everybody there is pros. Everybody on the freaking American team is pro. They play for different teams in the NHL. And everybody on the Canadian team are pros. But yeah, the goalie was freaking standing on his head. A couple of saves he made, it was like, holy shoot. You know what time the game started?
No, I didn't keep up with it.
7 a.m. Central Time. How are you?
All right. We were talking about Dostoevsky, if I'm saying his name correctly, and I couldn't remember why I'd recently heard his name. And while I was doing the intro, I remembered why I heard his name. So I think your average YouTube algorithm is influenced by the microphones you have in your house, and it will start to suggest various videos that are being talked about by subject category. So recently I've been talking about Father Ted, because he has a direct correlation with some of the things we do on the show. Specifically, this cow is small, those cows are far away. So YouTube has been playing me episodes of Father Ted on autoplay. When I've not been looking or doing the dishwasher, suddenly Father Ted's playing. And it played through a couple of them, and I'm like, I quite like these still. They're still funny. And the episode that's got that in is, I think it's called Holiday. Nevertheless, another episode that is either just before that one or just after that one has him going to get a book that he's got signed by the author. Now, the author dutifully signs his book incorrectly and calls him Father Curly instead of Father Crilly, and he ends up following her all the way home, and she ends up in his house. So he keeps seeing her on the way home. I'm all embarrassed because he keeps having to mouth the same thing, good luck with the book, to her. Anyway, he eventually gets home to see her there and then tucks her into the spare room, and Father Jack's in there, drunk of course. But when she wakes up in the morning, she comes down to him having staged his front room to look like an intellectual. So he's got Crime and Punishment and War and Peace on the desk, just casually. And she goes, oh, I didn't know you liked Dostoevsky, if I'm saying it correctly. And she picks up Crime and Punishment. And she says, oh, yes, I love Dostoevsky. I love Crime and Punishment. And she goes, oh, do you think he got a bit more cynical towards the end of the book? And he goes, yes, I do. She goes, whereabouts do you think he got more cynical? He says, towards the end. He says, which bit did you like the most? He says, I like the bit where he moved past the crime and went on to the punishment. It just reminded me of something that I said I didn't want to do. So I've still got 2 outstanding books from Level Playing Poem, and I've gone through the really easy to read ones that were for my 6 and 9-year-old, and I've read a little bit of them on camera. The ones actually addressed to myself and my wife I haven't actually read yet, and I don't want to be on camera with them pretending that I've read them and going, oh, I like the bit about the punishment more than the crime. Because it obviously shows you haven't read the book. So in the case of the 2 that I've promoted so far, I've gone through it in full. And then when I've gone, I like this, I'll fold the page over on a particular one. So when I'm on camera, I can flick very quickly to the ones that I've previously read, liked, and want to read out on camera. So I don't look like an idiot pretending to be an intellectual fart sniffer by having Crime and Punishment or War and Peace out on my kitchen table when some guest that I want to impress comes round. Anyway, it just was funny because it came up specifically for the translation reasons. So we were talking about Newton's letter to Mr. Bentley, if that's his name, and in it he's specifically alluding to the idea of the gravity force being a nonsense in his special linguistic way. And refracted curvature was pointing out, well, if you go through the Principia, it isn't actually the case that he's saying it's not a force. He's just saying it's acting via an agent or something along those lines. I can't remember exactly what John went through with me. He's only said it once. But has apparently had a row with a different former Flat Earth debate panel member in this regard. So we were just going through that, and to tie it all in a nice little bow, John was saying, well, you know, just because I've read Dostoevsky and I haven't read it in Russian doesn't mean I haven't read the book, just because it's not translated, because it is translated rather in the original Latin, in the case of the Principia or the letter to Bentley. I don't know if he'd have written in that particular letter in Latin, but nevertheless, you know, the translating aspect of it isn't necessarily cause to suggest you don't understand the text just because it's gone through the translation process, I think was John's overarching point, rather than the fact that he's read Crime and Punishment. Is that a good enough summary? Probably not.
Yeah, because the claim was that if it didn't say Viz specifically, then it, in the Principia, then he never claimed gravity was a force. And I got a citation where it did say Viz, but it was translation. So he was... So it was something to see.
Yes. We're working currently on the book, so just before the show, I know that the current chapter we're working on is about 19 pages of A4 long, because it's quite a lot of information that's been gathered together from the various different times we've worked on the book prior and the 5 previous drafts. The one that was cobbled together and being read from was the 6th draft of this book that I'm writing. And it's, like I say, very information rich, but therefore worthy of being hacked down considerably, which has already been done, even though I'd intended for my wife to just read through all 20 pages. And then from there, we'll start working on it, knowing what's actually in them. Whereas on previous chapters, we've gone through it and immediately started editing it, having just gone through the full draft in its entirety as a single read through. But in this instance, because the chapter's so information rich, I'm like, no, we need to do that again. We'll read through the full chapter in full without making any changes. And we're about halfway through it after, I don't know, probably wasn't an hour, maybe 45 minutes of reading. We're only halfway through the chapter. So from the perspective of it's going to be a very information-rich book, then, you know, that's good because it means that we've got all the information, some of it not necessarily correct, as John's saying, well, actually. So there might be some adjustments to be made in that regard. But also, you know, getting it down to a more concise chapter so that anybody who does actually come across the gravity chapter can get all of the information in terms of hopefully representing, I think is it called steel manning my opponent's position when I try and best accurately serve their position to my reader. I think that's the correct term. Is it steel man? Anyway, regardless, I want to get it correct, not because I'm particularly fearful of anybody picking it up and reading it from my opponent's side and going, oh, you quoted him wrong. Like, well, you know, my overarching point in terms of my intended purposes for the book are to communicate the process of housekeeping accumulation to the redundancy of housekeeping towards the end of the book, which makes people along the journey of reading it realise that Earth is simply measured flat. And, you know, having an extensive knowledge of heliocentrism, while might seem very advantageous if you're a dweeb who thinks that this is interesting to people, it isn't. It's boring. And it's demonstrated by my wife yawning while she's reading through it. I mean, this stuff is tedious. You know, to a 12-year-old myself, I thought this stuff was amazing. You know, space and sci-fi in general was cool, right? When you're 12, as a fully grown adult, I'm like rolling my eyes thinking this stuff's tedious. Because it is. It's boring, fart sniffer, you know, 12-year-old boy that's never grown up stuff that our opponents specifically think that is going to make them righteous in terms of how the world works. And it's a bit of a magic trick in that regard, you know, understanding the complexities of heliocentrism, specifically gravity, does give some of our fart-sniffing opponents the ability to think that they are in some way influencing the world that they inhabit. Like, nah. Especially when it comes to gravity, because it's utterly inconsequential. It's a nothing. It doesn't really do anything. I mean, it simultaneously, in the mind's eye of someone inconsequential to the discussion, does everything but for what? For what ends? You know, it doesn't achieve anything practical and doesn't actually serve any practical purpose in even the heliocentric rhetoric. It's kind of nothing burger. Gravity, that is, specifically.
It's an if statement, right? If we lived on a ball, then there would be something holding us to the ball. And then they take an inertial plane where the force would only be valid and somehow intermarry the two in gravity.
Yeah. But they've nullified it in the most recent rhetoric of gravity. You know, with us highlighting this with our phraseology, you know, the force that's not a force, but you can think of as it a force in a fourth dimensional bent pseudo-Riemannian space-time geometry. You know, those sorts of elongated descriptions of something are only necessitated by us acknowledging that we appreciate where 111 years ago there was a claim that you had to explain why things go down. You know, I remember saying it to my wife while we're doing the editing, you know, we've got a balloon room, you know what I mean? When you say things all go down, I've got an old Valentine's balloon that's still, you know, hanging around, and it simply isn't. You know, when I think about the clouds in the sky or the fart that's been let off by one of my girls, you just think that is not forming a puddle. It is not going down. So this idea that you've got to explain why things go down, they don't. Some things go down, some things go up, some things remain completely neutral. But that isn't necessarily any cause for my need to explain things. But I think I'd be doing the chapter short or the reader disservice if I didn't in some way explain the density of the object within the respect of the medium that it's travelling up or down in. And I don't know, I don't want to. This is why I'm hesitating in saying it now to the audience. It's like, this is not incumbent upon me to explain. Why am I having to? My recognising that it's redundant kind of makes me feel like, well, why should I have to explain it? And then I remember why, because everybody's told it's got significance and told that it's important. Therefore, there's going to be an expectation of an explanation for what our version of gravity is. And you're like, what do you mean our version of this nothing burger? Why do I have to explain Archimedes to people? I don't. You know, even as a flat earther, I don't need an equivalent. Now, I do appreciate that there is a certain faction of Flat Earth that has taken it upon themselves to invent an equivalent so they can sell you free energy, but that's not me. So I don't see the need, other than the necessity or expectation, not necessity of the reader. So it's kind of a bit snarl-mouthed while I say it, because I'm like, why am I don't have to do this. This is not my problem.
Not once you come to the understanding that it's just measured flat. You're right. But you could cut it short and just say it's medium dependent. That's it.
Why am I explaining it at all?
You say
My disdain is down to the fact that I've got to explain it at all. Like most things, though, most heliocentric rhetoric, I just see it as filling up space in my head unnecessarily now. It's like, Earth's measured flat. It's geography. What's that? You've been taught religious beliefs in a science class. Therefore, the geography is still, what, different? It's the same as you're using. You need to measure Earth flat to believe you're on a ball with your religion. But in terms of anything practical and useful, Earth's measured flat. So you're going to measure Earth flat for your religion, and it's measured flat when they're dealing with world that is going to be built on, sailed on, flown across. You know, that's the world that is dealt with, flat. And you were taught that in geography too. So it doesn't really concern me that you've got a world belief that violates the base principle measurements of a flat surface that you were taught in geography class. They're not going to change. People get paid good money to adhere to how flat Earth is when they're measuring it and surveying it, mapping it, charting it, building on it, flying over it, sailing on it. Those people are being paid to deal with Earth flat. You're an inconsequential dweeb most of the time, sniffing your own farts, telling yourself that gravity's important, and because you can explain pseudo-Riemannian fourth-dimensional space-time, that makes you smart, and therefore what's sexy when you're sat with the girls around you? You're not, you ugly little dweebs. But you think gravity's important, don't you? Me, I know it's not. Therefore, I kind of think, why do I have to go through this? Who cares?
I was way ahead of you. I was telling Richard that a long time ago. I asked him that question. If you prove Earth is flat, and you will, by your measurement, does the solar system or anything else mean anything at all? And he agreed that it doesn't. But he also felt that it was important to proof that the Earth is not spinning. So go figure that out.
Yeah.
No, the reason he thought it was important to prove the Earth wasn't spinning is because it was directly tied to one of his ether proofs.
Yep.
Yeah, he's incorporating the not spinning aspect into the free energy aspect. So while we're here showing you that it doesn't spin, well, hold on, you don't have to prove a negative. What the bloody hell are you doing? Yeah, well, but we've also got this Mickelson. Oh my God. Just using this shit to interweave your bullshit about free energy so you can con people. That's it. That's the only purpose, to tell people that you're not spinning. Because what do you know? The quote-unquote experiment that showed we're not spinning also demonstrates that there's a luminiferous ether. And that's where we'll get the free energy from. What do you know?
Do you know what you measure in the Michelson-Morley?
There's a time differential between two light waves.
Well, not exactly. You measure a diffraction pattern between two beams of light.
Okay. Sounds very natural. Where does that happen?
Well,
in nature? Sorry, go on. You're not making this claim. My bad.
Doesn't matter. You need a flat plane of reference to come up with that.
What, for the tool to function, to create the diffraction pattern, it's working with two planes of reference in terms of how the light's generated. But I don't think that's where John's going with this. Go ahead, John.
well, you need discrete points of interaction to form the wave function to describe it as a wave. It's measuring those discrete points of interaction.
In reference to what? What is it measuring?
Still not. I'm still. Go ahead, John.
The photons. The photons. It's measuring the photons. The photon, the discrete point of interaction is what we observe. That's our reference. The photon is how we describe it in reality. That's the measurement on the photographic plate.
Okay. Other than, I don't know, because I'm out of date with their rhetoric of nonsensical free energy, is there some sort of assistance required in the aspect of, incorrect aspect of light being a wave? Is that part and parcel, and you're undermining it by demonstrating the quantization of light in this respect? I don't really understand where you're taking this.
For them to assert that light is a wave and they can get free energy from this wave, they have to measure it as a particle to put that forward. You don't think that's funny?
I don't fully follow. So for them to describe the free energy, they need the light to be a wave, do they? I mean, I appreciate it isn't.
Well, the ether is what
of course.
propagates.
The ether carries the wave of light. It's not a wave. Yeah, now I follow. The penny's just dropped. So their bullshit rhetoric of having a light wave traverse a luminiferous ether, resulting in the potential free energy we're just not tapped into because the governments have stopped us, requires light to be a wave travelling through a luminiferous ether. It's not. Okay, I finally got it.
Yeah, you need it to be a particle for it to form the diffraction pattern for you to create the wave function to describe it as a wave.
Right.
And that's what they're looking at, is a differential between those two patterns.
I mean, it's so scummy when you're incorporating something that's incorrect with the rhetoric that you're trying to allege to debunk, only so you can interweave light waves travelling through a luminiferous ether to create a perception of free energy. Is so scammy and so scummy. These are the people that called me a scammer, by the way. Yeah,
They called you a science scammer.
Yeah. Well, why? Well, because we can unpick this courtyard trick, parlor trick, whatever you want to call it, in terms of its lack of adherence to science, and ultimately undermine their suggestions of luminiferous ether and free energy, which obviously pisses them off. And what's the best line of defence when someone's calling you a fraud? Oh, we'll claim they're a fraud. So this is a scam. There is no free energy. There's no luminiferous ether. There's no light waves traversing anything. It is just bullshit. But if you're out there and you're hearing that and you're thinking, well, no, this individual says that it is. It's like, well, okay. Did you recently enter the Ugandan lottery? I mean, are you just prone to being scammed? What's the deal? Some people just get scammed.
It always tickled me.
Go ahead.
I'm just saying it always tickled me that every time they brought up the subject, they would always appeal to, particle physics or something like that for them to claim that it wasn't a particle and that we had a presupposition. You know what I mean? It's like, what are you doing to yourself,
Yeah. Another thing that does get described concisely in my book, that is to say, at various different points, I've attempted to educate these people that we're talking about, but not by name, but by suggestion. And it could be a whole group of people. That's why keeping it vague is appropriate, because there'll be a new group of scammers that use this same trick in 10 years from now. So, keeps it timeless if we don't actually mention any names. I know Neil did mention one, but we'll just move past that. But the suggestions of free energy come from a group of people that have incorporated a flat earth belief and the utilisation of conspiracy to keep the people who are fed flat earth intentionally by a controlled opposition that wants it to be a certain thing scammed with free energy claims. So you just got to point out to the people who are listening to this that when you hear somebody say, that person's a scammer, we were talking about it with our Globe Earth opponents, right? During the week, like they behave scummy and suddenly they're calling the police. You're like, just bear in mind that the police just want to investigate anybody that's talking to them. That could be you if you're crying foul from the bottom of the driveway as an ex-wife stalker that's hanging around moaning about getting bullied by your ex-husband who wants nothing to do with you, or claiming that you're the one being abused. You're like, okay, very interesting. Meanwhile, we've got people on our own side that, in my opinion, are slightly lower down the pecking order than those scumbags. At least they're wearing their scumbaggery on their sleeves. When you're hiding your scumbaggery behind Michelson-Morley experiments and luminiferous ether waves giving you free energy, that, to me, because it comes under the banner of we can debunk the claim that Earth turns, is properly scummy. It's like next level scummy, in my opinion. And in the book, what I'm talking about is trying to educate certain individuals on what science is, because you undermine the classroom education about heliocentrism, that's science class, if you understand what science is. However, if you're utilising that exact same scam on the people who've just broken free of the shackles of heliocentrism, that is low, properly low. And what do I get for pointing that out or trying moreover to educate these people in what science and the scientific method was? Well, I get called a scammer. Did 12 months, however long, probably more than that now, 2.5 years it probably is since that happened. But ultimately, what's the point of all this? Well, the overarching point is for you, if you're reading my book or listening to this now, if you understand what science is, then you can see through what science isn't when it's claimed. Now, this is a case in point. Luminiferous ether falls into this category of pseudoscience. There is no scientific evidence. There's no observed phenomena. It doesn't adhere to step one like a lot of the heliocentrists' claims. But, it gets even more egregious when someone like me is coming along and saying, you do realise that science is being used to suggest that people are on a sphere, and that's part of the magic trick. What's that? You're using the same magic trick? What's that? I'm a scammer? What for saying science? Oh, right, okay, this is an interesting turn of events. Anyway, that's kind of what I write about in that particular
What do you
book.
mean there's no proof? What about the 15-degree drift, Bob? No doubt proof.
The suggestion that there's a 15-degree-an-hour drift needs to come from a flat earther who then dies. Why? Well, because gyros aren't supposed to drift. And if your suggested claim of proof of sphericity is that gyros by default will drift at a rate of 15 degrees an hour, then they stop being useful for the applied practical application that they're being used for. So you can't have somebody of any note say gyros drift at 15 degrees an hour. What, gyros are useless, to rephrase that? Yeah, they're not. They are very useful and used. But if you can have a flat earther make the claim that Cavendish is making, no, sorry, Cavendish, Foucault is making with gyros and pendulums, then you can lean into the flat earther making your claim that isn't true for you. Sounds complicated? Let me explain. Gyros don't drift. The whole point of a gyro is it remains rigid in space. If the suggestion is that gyros will drift at a rate of 15 degrees an hour because Earth turns underneath them as a second separate non-inertial turning reference frame, then you need a gyro to display drift. They don't. Go back to point one. They remain rigid in space. That's why they're useful. So, can you have somebody of note in the heliocentric priesthood say gyros do drift when they don't? No, you need a flat earth knobhead to do it for you. So you give somebody a body pack and a transmitter, strap it to their body, and oh, what do you know? I've forgotten that I got a body pack shoved up my ass. And oh no, we've got a problem because this gyro is actually drifting. What, faulty? Yeah, well, that's why you got hold of it and it isn't on an aeroplane killing people, because if they drift, they're broken. But then you can have globe Earth believers, otherwise known as anti-flat earthers, say, look, Bob proved gyros are useless. I mean, gyros drift at 15 degrees an hour to suggest Earth is turning underneath gyros. So let's bring this to its conclusion. If Bob's right and gyros are useless and they show drift at 15 degrees an hour, then Earth is turning underneath gyros. And we'd frickin' notice. Yeah? Now, that does not occur. If you can't visualise this, think of the Foucault pendulum. What do pendulums do? Swing back and forth. That's it. That's what a pendulum does. So why does it appear to twist and knock over the dominoes? Well, because it's alleged Earth is turning underneath the pendulum. And if Earth is turning underneath gyros and turning underneath pendulums, then it's turning underneath aeroplanes and it's turning underneath hot air balloons. And we'd notice. So, if Earth is turning underneath an aeroplane, then a flight from Charlotte, North Carolina to Los Angeles would only take an hour and a half, not 4 hours, because Earth's turning underneath as a separate non-inertial turning reference frame, something we do not notice. What's that I hear? Is that Dan? You and your reference frames are ruined, Nathan. These aren't mine, you bunch of dumb shits. But I can understand and break down how you need gyros to drift. And if they drift, you've got two reference frames. That's what drift is. What's that? My reference frames are ruined? No, we just don't see any drift, you bunch of fucktards. Now, as a flat earther 10 years into this subject, I can break this down nice and concisely. But this is unequivocally my least favourite subject. I hate Coriolis. To have to unpack it takes 3 or 4 minutes of non-stop psychobabble. Meanwhile, who gives the tiniest of shits? Earth's measured flat. Even in this nonsensical garbage that isn't true with drifting gyros, you need a non-inertial flat-turning reference frame to mathematically describe this effect. So you need a flat Earth for it, wrong though it is. An experience that we do not have on an Earth that is claimed to be turning, making gyros drift at 15 degrees an hour, because that means Earth's turning underneath and we simply don't see that. That's why you end up with anti-flat earthers telling you you've only got one reference frame. The conservation of angular momentum. What, no drift then? No 15 degrees now. Not thanks, Bob, for the drift that he showed. Why is it you're leaning into Bob, a dead man's drift? Yeah, because it isn't real. We'd notice. It would shorten flight times. I'm done.
Yeah, I thought that you added it on there at the end, like to describe any of this. And what we've been talking about requires 2 frames of reference. They are affixed to a plane of reference. That's what the frame of reference is. It is a plane from which you will reference motion. all descriptions of motion require that plane to describe it from.
Yep. All roads lead to a flat Earth. Both the gravity, that's a downward perpendicular force vector, incorrect though it is, and Coriolis non-inertial turning reference frames, incorrect, I'll repeat it, that they are, require a flat Earth to describe them. So even in their incorrect assertions that they rely upon to believe in a heliocentric worldview, derived to explain epicycles and give them Easter and calendars and things that aren't to do with actual surface bending. But the current, heliocentric believers and anti-flat earthers need flat earth planes of reference to describe their nonsensical effects, even the incorrect ones. All roads still lead to a flat earth measurement. This is no exception.
Actually, I just got a message. Yes, all gyroscopes are technically supposed to drift, as it is natural, inherent, and inevitable characteristic of both mechanical and electronic sensor hardware. Over time, even at rest, the gyro output will slowly deviate from zero due to temperature changes, mechanical wear, or bias instability.
So you're telling me that planes don't fly in straight and level flight parallel with the ground as instructed by ground control? Oh, they do? Oh, how do they achieve such effects? Oh, with a gyro? Oh, so they don't drift then? No, they don't. Absolutely not. They wouldn't be useful. Their practical application is that they remain rigid in space. What's that? A fart-sniffing dweeb who thinks he's consequential to this has told you that actually gyros do drift? Really? So you're telling me that planes drift around in flight level? No, they don't. No, they definitely don't. No, they look at their little gyros in their little flight controls and they go, yeah, that's level because we're going to remain in level flight. And they do.
Yeah.
What it is?
The gyro has a fixed plane of reference it maintains as long as there is energy being input into the system to maintain its spin.
But we're throwing pearls to swine. As much as I appreciate Neil reading that out, right? Whoever wrote that to you, you have no bearing on what Earth is. Just accept it, you little dweeb. Yeah? What you think is that this information that you're parroting off to Neil is something that will impress the ladies down the back. No, they think you're a dweeb. They scowl at you and would tell you to fuck off if you looked in their general direction. They all know you're a dweeb. But in your mind, this makes you special. Understanding our gyros are drifting. Number one, you're wrong. What's that? Dan says your reference frames are ruined, dweeb. Now go and fight with Dan, you pathetic little moron. Because this, your little tidbit of information, had absolutely no bearing on what planes do, how they fly, what the flight controller calls out to them in terms of what flight level they will adhere to. You had no bearing on any of that. You were a fart-sniffing, inconsequential little dweeb telling Neil, another man, no offence to him, who has absolutely no bearing on this whatsoever. So it could be read out on a Flat Earth show that, again, has absolutely no bearing on how Flat Earth is dealt with. Just so you, for 25 seconds, could feel like you had some importance in this subject. Let me be the first to remind you, you don't, you stupid dweeb.
Well, it does. When I checked it with Google, of course, AI has it. So he got the definition. He got that whole thing right from AI.
Actually, I can type a Google search and ask if gyros drift, and it says that they do.
Yeah, he got it directly. He got it directly from freaking Google and AI because I'm reading it right now. It's basically word for word for what he said. He also gave me the whole thing, what it says here, what it is, why it happens, how to fix it. So
fix it.
I'm not even going to waste my time.
Yeah, again, I'll just repeat what I've said. This fart-sniffing dweeb that has sent you this message thinks he has some consequence on Earth and what it does. You don't. You don't matter. Have you not been watching last week? I thought I made this abundantly clear to you, dweebs. I mean, I took the onus on myself. I don't matter. I don't make any difference to how a frickin' gyro remains rigid in space and therefore useful. I don't have any bear on this. What's that? I'm being told that my reference frames are ruined? Yeah, I know. people like Dan elevate Nathan Oakley to the lofty position of having some bearing and consequence on Earth and what it does in terms of its motion that you think is happening? I don't. I mean, it's nice that Dan can stick me on such a pedestal. Call them my reference frames? What the bloody hell are you babbling? Oh, it's projection. You want to have some consequence in this matter. So you need to make me wrong, and by contrast, you're going to stick me on a pedestal and suggest that me saying it incorrectly makes a difference to the world that you think has only got one reference frame. You fart-sniffing dweebs. Wake up. You are unimportant. Nobody cares if you can babble on about bloody reference frames. First and foremost, you're boring everyone. Now you realise how boring you are. Listen to your own words that you've typed out from Google, that you did after a little search, from a little algorithm that's definitely not your friend either. It doesn't even have feelings. Your closest companion is a little AI algorithm in YouTube or Google. You've got no friends, you're a dweeb, and you're inconsequential when it comes to Earth. Now, the last thing that you had, that you were stringing along like it had some importance, was your feeling that you did have a bearing on Earth and what it does. You don't. I'm going to take that from you too, dweeb. Yeah? And metaphorically, I'm going to stamp on that head right until it's splattered into the curb. The idea of you having some bearing on it, you are utterly inconsequential. Make no mistake about it. I hope that's clear, dweeb. Whoever you may be.
Yeah, we won't give the dweebs no names, but the messages come flying in. I got about 7 or 8 different ones that every time the show is going on, bloop. So they're really paying attention to your show, Nathan.
Yeah, because I know exactly why. What's made them wanting me locked up while I make metaphors about having their heads kicked in? Well, it's because I'm robbing that last morsel of self-importance that they've given themselves. Because they thought that they were interesting. In their minds, they're sat around with 20 or 30 people all in their favourite bar. It's like Friends and your Cheers or some soap opera. And they're like, oh, by the way, lads, everybody, I'm going to stand on this table and tell you about libration of the moon. And everybody goes, yay, this guy's cool. No, you're delusional. Everybody sneers at you because you're a boring dweeb. Now, what you thought was important, that's your knowledge of heliocentrism that you got from being a 12-year-old boy interested in frickin' rockets. I'm going to rob that from you and laugh at you for liking it, you pathetic bunch of dweebs. Yeah? It's sad. Yeah, you're into He-Man by equivalence. You're into Father Christmas by equivalence. It's sad. Haven't you grown out of rocket ships and this bullshit? Oh, you still think the people around you are interested in how gravity works and how the moon moves around Earth. You think you're interesting, and you're wrong. I'm going to make sure you know it too. Yeah? What are you telling me about how gyros drift? I look at you and go, gyros? You are boring. Do you understand me? Boring. Right? Even the pilots don't babble on about bloody gyros. They're looking at the legs of the women that go up and down the aisles, the hostesses. Have you ever met a pilot? They're not uncool people. They're not going, oh, yes, my gyro's drifting at 15 degrees an hour, you know. It's only one reference frame. So you don't actually see the drift. No, they're not. No, they're looking up and down the hostesses and thinking about, well, that one might sleep with me. That's what because that's the kind of guys they are, right?
Yeah, 007.
Yeah.
They're like freaking
yeah, but if you're
James
going
Bond.
to be dweeby, you should at least be dweeby about an important fact, right? Like being dweeby on reference frames and how, which have to be flat by their nature for them to be a coordinate system. It seems extra dweeby, you know what I mean? Like there's another level of dweebiness to it.
Yeah, dweeby stops being dweeby when it offers the ability, practically speaking, for somebody else to do something exciting. So if you're a guy who runs a racing car team and you've got a whole bunch of technicians that work on the computer-controlled systems for the electronic fuel injection system, you're a dweeb. But that's an F1 car right there. Just tell me I'm a dweeb. And you go, yeah, okay, I get your point. You know, yes, you're doing a dweeby thing, but you are in ultimately a much cooler seat than me. So, you know, it's kind of swings and roundabouts in that regard. It's the same with a guy I watch who does computing, right? He's a dweeb. He likes tuning computers. So what does he do with his talent? Well, he tunes his computers for people who are willing to spend 10, 20, 30 grand on a computer so they can have 5 frames per second more when they're an e-sport guy shooting people on, I don't know, whatever the shooting games that they play are. I only play one, I only know Fortnite, and I'm sure that's not that competitive. But my point is, the people who are playing for 20 grand, 50 grand pots in these esports competitions will have a competitive advantage because Dweeb has given them one. Go and watch Frame Chasers and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Because he makes it point. He tries to make himself like James Bond, like I did when I was selling hi-fi to studios. I'm not producing music, but my amplifier's in that studio that did produce that cool music, therefore it's not dweeby. That was my attitude. These dweebs, they've got something that is utterly inconsequential. So you think your knowledge that you got from a Google search about how gyros do drift, you and your reference frames are ruined, dweeb. Why is that? Well, because it's inconsequential. You aren't actually utilising anything to do with gyros. You haven't built a gyro, you're not fitting one to an aeroplane, you're not flying an airplane, you're not looking at the hostesses. You're a dweeb. But you think, by going, actually, gyros do drift, blah, 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 Google regurgitation, you think that you are impressing the lady. You're not. You're completely delusional. You've got a boring subject matter that's inconsequential to the world you actually inhabit. You're not even giving esports gamers an edge with your dweeby geeky knowledge. You're not giving anybody anything. And that's what I'm going to keep rubbing in their faces. You think that knowing about gravity has got a practical application? Show me. How much did it make you this month? Oh, 0. It's just you thinking that you're going to impress the ladies down the pub. You're not. They're all looking at you because you're a dweeb, thinking either he doesn't exist, that is to say, they're looking straight through you like you're not even there, or they're sneering at you because you're boring them with gyros, you boring bunch of dweebs. So I'm going to rub this in your face moving forward, you bunch of idiots who oppose us. We don't need your opposition anymore. All we're going to do is look at you, because we don't care about the discussion or debate. There isn't one. So what are we going to be spending our time on? Psychoanalyzing you, dweeb. What's that? Oh, I love space. It's amazing. There's men floating around in a vacuum. Let's assess how pathetic this individual is. Because you are, you sad little 12-year-old boys. Why don't you all grow up? Obsessed with space and sky vacuums and rockets and gyros. You boring bunch of dweebs.
Yeah. What are you going to do, Nathan? You're going to constantly have opposition because they're still in a religious system that tells them they're on a spinning water ball.
Well, that's not opposition. That's wrong. John, tell him. They are not our opposition. They can delude themselves like conspiracy cats. You're not even going to pretend there's an argument. There isn't one. So I'm just going to look at you and go, why do you want there to be one when you're asking me if I'm not even pretending to have one anymore? There isn't one. So I don't see you as an opponent. I just see you as an irritating little twat, a dweeb. So I'm just going to start looking directly into your soul when I look into your eyes, not listening to your boring-ass words about gyroscopes anymore. Yeah? Don't need to prove myself in this regard. I absolutely, without question, know this subject inside out, back to front, like I need to, and I don't. So therefore, when it comes to any of the subjects that we used to cover in housekeeping, it's inconsequential. They're all redundant now. It's just geography. You were taught in geography how maps and a compass work, and how topographically we've assessed the world, we've measured flat. You all damn well know this. So you want to bark at me about bloody gyros, I'm just going to call you boring, because you are boring. Now, nobody noticed 10 years into it because of the internet. People thought you were consequential. Well, now we've realised there is no debate to be had. We've started psychoanalyzing the people around us, and it very quickly becomes apparent that they're just 12-year-old boys who never grew up. Sad little dweebs with self-importance and low self-esteem. Oh, I'm going to have you locked up. You're harassing... What, why you come to my house and park in my driveway and tell me I need to know about gyros, you boring dweeb? No, it's time to wake up. Our opponents will all be assessed as individuals. Your arguments aren't arguments. You are still under the misapprehension that we give two shiny shites about what you've got to say when it comes to heliocentrism. We don't care. Your globe was made with flat Earth measurements. Now, you can tell me I'm wrong. I don't give a crap. These are facts. You don't have to like them. The fact that you thought differently shows, one, you are ignorant, and two, that you're still interested in stuff 12-year-old boys are interested in, you bloody dweebs. And you're boring everybody. It's time to move on. Yeah? There's girls out there, for God's sake. Why are you talking about gyros? It's
Nathan,
just dweeby.
You don't understand. You don't understand. There was this kid, his name was Eugene, and he always wanted to hang out with us, and he never stopped. Every day he would keep trying to hang out with us, and he never adjusted to what it means to be cool. This is what's happening now. They want to hang out, but they can't make the adjustment because they're dweebs.
Yeah, you only get to be cool and not care about the blonde that's staring at you if you have got, number one, other things going in your life. And number two, having a blonde stare at you is not that big a deal. You've had other blondes stare at you. Now, for a dweeb, the blonde never stares at them. And when she looks through you, remember in the first Superman where he waves at the two girls because they're waving at him, and they're waving at somebody beyond him. In other words, he is invisible to them, right? For a dweeb, when this happens, they think for just a fraction of a second, oh my God, she's looking at me. And in that moment, any semblance of coolness that they had vanishes immediately.
Yeah, it's pretty pathetic. It took some time, but he finally stopped trying and then just went with his other friends and dweebed out together.
Yeah, go dweeb out with
question
Dan. What's that? Gyro's Drift. Excuse me, my name's Simon Dan. You and your reference frames have been ruined. Go and talk to other like-minded, boring-ass dweebs. Yeah, those are your people now. We aren't your people. Now, you used to think they're our enemy. Therefore, we are like gladiator. No, you're not, you dweebs. Get over yourself. You had fake names and fake personas and you were on the internet pretending to be tough guys. About gyros! Hello? Step back and look at yourselves for a second. You think you're internet tough guys? You're talking about gyros! Hello? Dweebs. Get a grip. Well, that was a fun little rant. All about Coriolis effect. You can read all about it in my new book. It's coming out at Easter time. It's going to be called All Roads Lead to a Flat Earth by Nathan Oakley, and only Nathan Oakley. The one and only.
It's going to be a great book, by the way. I've been hearing little tidbits here and there. It's going to be outstanding.
Yeah, it's getting harder. So the first half of the book was far easier to edit. Now we're into chapter 8. Gravity and Coriolis and these long-ass chapters. Molten Iron Core. It's a lot of work. But yeah, I think it'll be worth it. It'll be concise enough for people to get the point. Earth's measured flat. And, you know, it'll be information rich enough for people to appreciate some of the counterpoints that we used to argue against things like gravity when it comes to buoyancy and Archimedes' principles. Those will be in the book, but they'll be snoozeworthy. But they're kind of, there's an expectation that they'll be talked about, right? There's a certain idea that people will have about what they'll get out of a book about flat Earth. So, you know, for those people, they're going to be really keen to flick to the bit where I talk about Newton because they're perceived to be my enemy. Has he got it wrong about Newton? I can't wait to say actually to him. Oh my God, I think I'm moist. They do. These people get off on saying actually. Actually, they do drift. Google said so. Oh, that was fantastic.
But you must pay attention to me. Don't you understand? You can't just bow out and do what you're doing and say you're just measured flat. What about me?
Told them what about them. Go and speak to Dan.
You're wrong.
Go and argue with another dweeb like Simon Dan. He says your reference frames are ruined, dweeb. So go and argue with him. I already know Earth's measured flat for your entire religion. So I literally don't give a shit about you and will just sit and look at you and poke fun at how big a dweeb you are, how boring you are, how little you've had to do with the ladies over your entirety of your existence. How the chances of you going, what? Blonde? No, I didn't even look. I was looking at my microphone sales. You know what I mean?
Well, then
something
change
else.
the name of your show. Your show says Flat Earth Debate, and you refuse to have a debate with me.
That's not true. Again, people who are talking to Neil, right? What you are doing, you little girl, is passing a note to my friend. Yeah, the door is there. It's open. I advertise that fact on every intro, but you're passing notes, you little girl. I mean, do you want to live up to your stereotype? You want to be an internet tough guy, right? The way to do it is to pass my friend's notes under the table while the class is being delivered to you. I'm the teacher in this regard, right? I'm telling you, Earth is measured flat for your belief. Doesn't matter what aspect of it, every aspect of it requires Earth to be measured flat, and there aren't any exceptions to this fact. Now, you don't like that. You want me to be on the same level as you. And the higher the pedestal you can shove me up on, the more the mirror you have some importance to be glancing at in that mirror. And it's just not the case. Yeah, I know what I offer you, right? Well, I'm sorry, but what you're going to actually get is me looking into your soul when I stare into your eyes and call you a dweeb and look you up and down as I do it. Now, you might think, oh, I've got an internet in front of me. I can lie. I'm actually a spaceman. No, I'm actually a brain surgeon. Actually, I do make gyroscopes. I own the biggest gyroscope making company in the world. Ha ha ha. Yeah, I've heard it all. We've seen it all, haven't we? These bullshitters that suddenly become pilots and suddenly become astronauts the minute we point out how wrong their rhetoric is. Well, actually, I'm an astronaut, you know.
Actually, that was just me making the stuff up. Nobody was sending me anything. I won't read anything they send, but it's nonstop. But I know all the things they do say. Like, you got a Flat Earth Debate show, but you won't debate. Well, he says the door's open, but I'm banned.
Nobody's banned. This server doesn't ban anybody. So far as I'm aware, everybody's welcome, nobody's banned. The people who have been banned previously in one of the servers, I specifically would approach someone like Righteous Force and go, I do not want Brenda anywhere near me, for example. Or Rumpus is a proven liar. He's on record admitting to this particular instance and then completely contradicting it 24 hours later. I do not want to poison my audience with a known liar. Ban him permanently. Same goes for people like Xanic. No, this person's absolutely without question a liar. Now, they're full of bravado and full of the desire to chat, skank and talk over people, but they're here proving they are a liar. That's it. No, I don't give second chances. You can be disingenuous until I've proven that you know you're doing it. That's to say, once you're proven to be a liar, here you go, you're wrong. Yes, I am wrong. Well, let's hear you say it, how it's correct. And then they repeat it, only to completely contradict that 24 hours later. You're like, these people can't be trusted. I don't want to be in their presence anymore. But I could probably count the rest of them on one hand. There's people like Rob Noxious sending me endless streams of swear words and abuse via instant messengers. Now notice, I don't go to the police. So, oh my God, this person is on the internet telling me that I'm a fucker. No, I just banned him. Yeah? What's that? But you feel like that half a dozen people tops is including you. No, you've aggrandized yourself to some position of self-importance again, haven't you? No, the door's definitely open. You could be coming in and stopping me talking right now, but instead it's just wishful thinking, right? Oh, Nathan's book was stolen by a couple of thieving bastards who said they wanted to make it their swan song. This is Nathan's swan song. No, it's wishful thinking. Now, I'll still be here so long as there's a heliocentrism for people to believe in, because then there is a perception of a debate. There isn't. When they get here, they find out very quickly how little debate there is to be had when you're measuring Earth flat for every single side of every discussion that we formerly had, past tense, over the last 10 years. There is no debate. That's what you find out within 10 minutes of coming on one of these shows. And the second you come into this arena while you're pretending that you're banned, what will you do? You'll use something that you know damn well will get you welcome to a flat Earth that you've just utilised when you tell us how flat you measure it. And you will. We know. You require Earth to be flat for your belief that you've sniffed your own farts with since you were 12 years old, telling yourself that the ladies love it. And they don't. You're just a dweeb, and you are inconsequential to how flat Earth does get measured.
Yeah, they missed all the flat Earth measurements in the beginning like we did.
They can never physically demonstrate any of the claims, and when they do offer you Earth measurement, it will definitely include an elevation angle. Fact.
I got your song. About, I don't know, 6 months ago, I wrote a song that was supposed to go to the music of Teenage Dirtbag by Weezer. 'Cause I'm just a teenage dirtbag, baby. I'm sure you're all familiar. Well, anyway, I rewrote the lyrics to sit around that music and then just forgot about it because I found it while I was looking for something else in my notes because I'm starting to panic about my iPad. Actually, I should probably mention that. As much as I don't want to run a GoFundMe, my iPad started to play up. I say started, it's been a slow downhill progression of things going wrong on it. But it stopped charging on most of the chargers that I can plug it into, including the one it came with. For some reason, it only wants to charge on my wife's high-powered charger for a laptop. So it means that it's definitely got something wrong with it. And I don't really want to crack it open because I've already cracked the screen once. So if I take the screen out or ask Craig to, it will smash the screen, which is held together with super glue. So, I don't know, this 4-year-old iPad has lasted reasonably well, considering I use it about 13 hours a day. But it's now starting to give up the ghost, and I don't have the money to do a replacement. So I might run a GoFundMe campaign for it, or whatever I do recently, give Send Go. So as much as the guy over the last, what was it, on Thursday or Friday said, oh, I hardly ever see you e-begging. Oh, well, that might change because my iPad's starting to give up the ghost and I absolutely depend on it and I don't have the money to pay for it. So as much as I've sold a load of microphones, it has kept me just the right side of the red/black line. And I've just paid off, I don't know, 2 or 3 credit cards that my wife and I had accumulated over the last year while I was flogging them. Well, now that I've actually started to accumulate the profit, it's all disappeared immediately. I was hoping to spend it on acoustic treatment, but that's probably not going to be the case. Anyway, but it means that when something does break, like always, I've got to e-beg to cover it because I just don't make enough money to put stuff aside to buy things like laptops, projectors, screens, speakers, whatever breaks, amplifiers. So this will probably be one of those occasions. So if you do in the next week or so see a GoFundMe campaign from me, hopefully people will support it and I'll get a new iPad. They cost like 500 to 2 grand, and I'll probably do a campaign for about £1,000 and hope that I can get near that amount and replace my iPad Pro with another one so I can continue making shorts videos and long form edited videos and running all the administration for Flat Earth Debate via the iPad. So yeah, I might have to do some e-begging. My wife's gone, don't announce any e-begging. I'm like, well, she's like, well, you've done so well for the last year plus. To not have to just before your book comes out seems really bad. I'm like, well, it's like one of those things. Sometimes things break and I can't let it just run out of battery and then not be able to charge it one day. I need to be able to plug it in wherever I'm sat next to it. I should have clarified that first. The battery doesn't last very long because it's old. So it just keeps running out and you have to constantly plug the damn thing in. Probably why it's not working. So anyway, that's a bit of a nightmare. I didn't really want to do any begging, but I might have to. So that's a downer. Oh, that reminds me of something else. Speaking of Teenage Dirtbag, I've actually got the song that I passed on to One Deck queued up. Does anybody want to hear it? Yes, Nathan.
Yes, Nathan. You're better off on YouTube listening to it now.
Yeah, you probably won't hear it very clearly through the Hangout. But this is, as I say, what I originally wrote to replace the music to Teenage Dirtbag, but fed into Suno or whatever it's called by One Deck. So I don't know what I called it. I think I called it I'm Just a Conspiratard Baby or something like that. Anyway, enjoy.
His name is Duran, I have a talk with him. He calls me a shill, got paid talks in half an hour. Oh, how fools flock in sandals and socks, but he doesn't know how it can be proved. But who gives a damn about it? I'm just a conspirator, baby. Talk about 9/11, maybe. COVID and flu jabs lately, baby, with me. And his boyfriend's a prick, bring no guns to fools. Tailor to the Sims. Oh, how they flock, and he hates how I rock. That the measurements of Earth are flat. Pretends he doesn't give a damn about it. About it. I'm just a conspirator, baby. Talk about 9/11, maybe. COVID and flu jabs lately, baby, with me. I've got 2 tickets to Antarctica, baby. Come with me now and don't say maybe. 24 hours of sunshine lately. Today you say can't be flat Earth on 8. Today you say Earth is flat, but you won't listen. I'm just a conspirator, baby. Talk about 9/11, maybe. COVID and flu jabs lately, baby, with me. I've got 2 tickets to Antarctica, baby. Come with me now and don't say maybe. 24 hours of sunshine lately. Today you say can't be flat Earth on 8. Today you say Earth is flat, but you won't listen.
So that was titled by, not me, by One Deck, Where's Your Glock? I don't know why it's called that. Nevertheless, I presume it's some take on the fact that there's no guns in Antarctica. But nevertheless, that was my song, which I originally titled where something like I'm Just a Conspiratard Baby. Supposed to go to the music of Weezer. So thank you very much indeed for doing that, One Deck. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Programming streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow.
That they're all the same.
Did you like that?
Well, they don't like it because yeah, it was all right that way.
Yeah, I thought it was good. You had a load of disclaimers about it. You didn't think it was as good as you could have made it and things. And I heard it and I was like, this is ace.
Yeah, I wanted to spend more time on it, but I was in hospitals and things. I just while I was in waiting rooms, I was doing that, and then I got kicked out. You only get so many chances on that free app, so you've got to sort of, spend a bit of time and be careful what you're doing. And the first 2 wasn't that great, and then that one I thought, oh, it's not too bad this, and then I thought I'll give it another go and see if I can get a different vibe. And then he wouldn't let me do it, so I was stuck with that. But sometimes these things happen for reasons.
Yeah, it's good. I liked it because you can kind of hear that it's different to Weezer, but by the same token, there are got 2 tickets to Antarctica, baby. As soon as you hear that line, you're like, this sounds like Weezer.
Yeah,
because it does, because it's written around
slightly
it, right?
there, isn't it? Yeah, I know what you mean.
So
Yeah,
I liked it. I really liked it.
There?
Thank you very much for doing it.
No problem, mate. Anytime.
Did you guys hear it in the Discord server?
No, Nathan. Yeah, I do since
It
I
never
didn't even
sounds
listen to
good.
it.
It never sounds good. So I go to the show to listen to it.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah. To keep the crosstalk down to a minimum, when people have got their lines all open at once, that can turn into a right audio mess. Whereas, hopefully, when it does occur, you can still pick out individual people talking on my show, right? If I, the Discord server, and the G Plus panel are all talking at once, which does frequently happen, it can still be picked out. You can still hear what I'm saying, what the Discord panel's saying, and what G Plus are saying, all at the same time. But that means it's so heavily gated and heavily noise suppressed, and all the different filters that I use in each of the ins and outs means that can be done. But what it also does is it just hears music as noise, so you won't get what I'm broadcasting out. That's a sacrifice I'm willing to make, right? Just that's fine. That's good enough. It won't be a very long after show because I'm going to get my wife to help me carry on with the book. So we'll probably do 10, 15 minutes after show, and it'll be a very short show. But if people want to hang around in Discord and not have heard a single word from anybody the entire show or after show or pre-show, then you can. I'll stay connected to Discord if you want to hear my wife and I work on the book. More like the last 10 pages of chapter 8 get read, because we probably won't get any work done today. We'll just get to read through it once because it's so long.
Have you finished that bloody Coriolis yet?
Yeah, we're on to Gravity now. Coriolis didn't have any work done to it, so we were like, that was the first of these kind of chapters, and we tried to start working on it and go through it and then work through it, and then we're like, well, we've got rid of this section and now it reappears here. So in this instance, I've gone, right, okay, rather than doing that, we'll just read through all of it once and then start back at the beginning with a good idea about what's in the chapter as a whole. So that's what we're doing this time. So all we've done so far is read through half of chapter 8 that my wife's cobbled together, and we'll read through the other half and then decide what we're going to keep and what we're not.
Did you convince you down in it, that Coriolis?
It will be. Coriolis will be a good chapter. So, it's I remember which character's interwoven with it. There's a particular person that's specifically interwoven. It's not Sandman Dan either. It's someone like Stephen Chess or someone like that. I can't remember. But it's a good chapter. They're all good chapters, actually. They'll all be very concise, but the last...
Listen, don't let that...
Go on.
I'm just saying, don't let that Gravity chapter get you down.
Very funny. We won't. I'll just try and see if I get an opinion again from the Discord server. Did you like the song?
Yeah, Nathan, it was really good.
Good, because I wrote it. Therefore, it is ace.
No, it came through really well, too.
Talk about 9/11, baby. COVID and flu jabs lately with you. Ooh.
That's a good one. I like that line. I just finished blocking everybody, so now all messages cease. The last one, he had the balls to call me a dumb dago. That's it. Done.
I don't know what that means. It sounds rude, though.
The thing is, Neil, it's annoying them. I keep going back to the Alan Watson things where this started a few months ago, and they don't like the fact that we've put this so-called argument and debate to bed, and it's really annoying some people.
His last thing to me was how Nathan's begging, what's wrong with you? Well, you're a dumb dago, grown man, 46 years old, wanting to get a real job. Are you sending Nathan any money? If you're not, then mind your business. And why don't you go get a job and worry about your family? And then at the end, he called me a dumb dago, so now you got to go. Communications off. Dago is a derogatory term used to the people coming over from Sicily to America.
All very childish, though, isn't it? When you think about it, all this crap.
Well,
We're
not
here
this is a
we're here
child.
talking about this. Oh yeah, no, but I mean, he's never come up with any. The only measurements I've heard him talk about is elevation angle measurements, like all of them. Any
Yeah,
description of the measurement of Earth from anybody will include an elevation angle measurement. That includes the Greeks and Al-Biruni.
Yeah, and that's what bothers them because we spotted it, we highlight it now, and they can't accept it, even though they do accept it. They'll play the game like they don't because they still want to be on their globe. But listen, we're highlighting it now, and Nathan's correct. He highlights that they're a bunch of dweebs talking about stupid things like gyroscopes. It is. If you think about what they do, it's freaking boring.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I felt it the whole time I was learning it. I was always really reluctant, as much as people were like explaining stuff to me and courteous enough to go through it 10 times with me so I could understand it and repeat it back and make it more concise for an audience and all that good stuff, right, over the 10 years. But why did it take 10 times to understand stuff? Because I found it boring. That's the real reason. Yeah? I remember learning about digital to analog converters and amplification, and it didn't take 10 times. You know, it maybe took 5 times, but for the most part I was intrigued as to how this equipment worked, so I wanted to know about it. Whereas, do I want to know how a gyro works? Do I want to know about Coriolis? Do I want to know about gravity? Do I want to know about molten iron cores? No. I'm not a 12-year-old boy anymore, so I don't care.
Like you say, the heliocentric nonsense, it's just all a load of waffle. The whole caboodle. It's a whole load of waffle, what they talk about. The heliocentric model, none of it can be physically demonstrated in real life. None of the claims. The only thing they can do is give you measurements, and it will be the flat Earth. I mean, it's crazy. I caught a clip of Simon Dan going over Eric DeBay's talking on straight and level flight, and he's going, well, you know, the gravity's, it doesn't fly straight and level, it's being pulled to the center of the core, and you know, the instruments on the plane obviously might display it as you know, in level flight and horizontal, but it's not actually doing that, Eric, so I don't know what you're talking about. They just come out with nonsense.
So straight and level flight is actually not straight and level. Yeah, it's like actually
No, it's
one
perfect.
reference frame, actually not horizontal, actually not level flight. You're like, okay, Dan is going to be the poster child for dweeb wankers, isn't he? Like, this is your example of a dweeb wanker. Your rhetoric says 2 reference frame. Simon Dan says, ding, 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 1 reference frame. Your rhetoric says flight level. Simon Dan says, ding, 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 actually curving. Again, utterly inconsequential. What Dan says about what a plane does is just him sniffing his own farts like he's going to be listened to when down the pub. So when someone's down the pub and going, oh yeah, well, I went on a plane the other day. Oh really? How high did it go? Oh yeah, 30,000 feet. So when I got to that flight level, the captain came on and told us we could all have drinks. And then Dan scurries over, actually, flight level's not really level. Like, you boring twat, get lost. I was on my way to Barbados.
Like you say, all the dweebs who are listening to him, he knows that's what they want to hear. They've got somebody telling them this. Oh, yeah, Dan's right. Flight level's not level, it's curving because gravity's pulling it to the center of a core. You know, it just appears to be flying level on the instrumentation in the plane and in the cockpit, but no, it is actually flying around the globe. And the people who are listening to him, They feel great when they've heard that because they can, that's it, Dan. We can go to them stupid flat earthers now and tell them this, that flight level isn't level, actually. It's curved. Thanks, Dan. It was in Discord, anyway. Discord, you need to speak a little bit more to us.
You are?
Say in Discord, you need to speak to us a little bit more.
I'm going to round out now anyway. So with that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making this rather limited after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. If this does come out on the replay and I have got a GoFundMe going, massive thank you to anybody who supported that. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
But when you measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken. We just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and begs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of rhyme.